Come on, come on. Aw man, I lost. Oh, hey there. I didn't see you there. I was busy playing my favorite game of all time, Concord. Whether you like it or not, you have all heard of Concord. Released by PlayStation 1 year ago, Concord was said to be Sony's very own Star Wars. Reportedly, they planned for the game to have a massive cultural impact to the point where they could revisit the franchise over several years into the future. As we all know, they sold one Concord million copies and everyone involved lived happily ever after. But after its release in August 2024, the game managed to accrue a spectacularly low player base, to the point where the game was officially shut down and refunded to everyone who bought it less than 2 weeks later, in September 6th, 2024. Everyone likes to speculate why this game flopped so catastrophically. We can mostly agree that poor marketing was a major reason. The few of us who gave the game a chance though, were welcomed by some of the worst world building in gaming. I mean, look at how Overwatch presents its story. Dynamic character dialogue happens before and during matches.
You're the one from Mars! Oh, I'd do anything to add a Mars rock to my collection.
When I return someday, I will bring you one.
As characters interact with one another, showing who they are and in what world they live in. Meanwhile, Concord decided to screw organic or conventional storytelling methods for the medium and just plastered a wall of text with it. Very convenient for us to review post-mortem. For this video, I wanted to give the game a chance and cover some of the character's lore without any bias, but also without diving too deep into any character, just to get an idea of what's going on here. I'll cover the lore for important concepts you need to know, and then go over the first card and first bio for each character. Concepts and items. First off, the Guild. It's a multiplanetary agency that regulates everything. They have total control over several planets and profit over mining, agriculture, trading, and wars in the wilds. Amazon released an episode on Concord for their Secret Level series, which was actually pretty good in my opinion, and if you've seen it, you know how dangerous space travel is. Ships can crash against space debris or just get lost, which is why the Guild has a space map, marking where ships can travel at light speed safely.
All that danger's where the Guild saw a market. The Guild owned the maps, so the Guild owned the routes. So if you wanted to travel in space, the Guild owned you. Just one of those routes would make you rich.
Since no one else knows these routes, the Guild can control the trade, travel, and communications between planets, and therefore can choose how much to charge for intergalactic travel. In the same short, the Implacable, a freegunner crew, managed to steal the Guild's maps to the galaxy and share it with other freegunners, finally ending the Guild's iron grip on travel. Speaking of freegunners, they are the rebels that openly defy the Guild. They come from every corner of the universe and can have any incentive. All the characters in Concord are part of the North Star freegunner crew, but there are at least 3 others. Something that will come up often are the Coral Worlds and the Wilds. The Wilds are the worlds in which Concord takes place. All the planets, trade routes, and other things we see in the Galactic Guide are part of the Wilds. The Core Worlds, however, are the planets where the Guild, humans, and space travel probably come from. We know that the Wilds were originally used as travel destinations, resource extraction planets, and trade routes by the people from the Core Worlds until the Tempest appeared. 82 years before the events in Concord, a space-tearing storm appeared in the middle of the routes between the Core Worlds and the Wilds. No one knows how far the Tempest expands to, nor if the Core Worlds were enveloped in the planet-destroying Tempest, or if they remain behind the storm. What we do know is that it's expanding and consuming everything in its way. Mystics. We don't have a lot of information about them. There are only 3 to 4 Mystic playable characters, depending on who you count as one, but we'll get to that. I suspect their powers come from the Tempest, since almost all Mystics were exposed to it at some point. What a Mystic is can vary, but they can usually control something. I'll explain what each does as I cover them. Sparking. This term is used to describe robots who gain consciousness, or simply put, come to life. Any robot can spark, not just humanoids, meaning your microwave could suddenly start speaking to you and no one knows why. The Guild declared war on rebel groups of sparked robots, starting the Robot Wars, though it ended around the same time the Tempest appeared. Fuel salt. It's an extremely important resource. It's one of the many energy sources used in the Concord universe, but fuel salt can be used to power spaceships, so it's very valuable and extremely sought after. Now that we got that out of the way, let's explore the characters. Starting off, we have this character. This is probably the character that was supposed to come in the season after Concord died. We know his name, Saboteur, thanks to the file names in this artist's art station. We know this is also the variant B, so it's probably a legendary skin or a recolor. I looked through the Concord dev build, but I couldn't find any evidence that this character was in progress at this point in time. When I was looking for pictures for this video, I found this 2-month-old post, meaning it didn't exist at the time I started this video. It has this very familiar looking rifle, and it has a picture that says Saboteur Scrap Explorations, meaning yes, this character's codename is Saboteur. The description of the post also says, the character that used this rifle also picked up scrap pieces to build bombs. When I made the script originally, I said we had no information on this character, but at least we now know a bit of the gameplay loop. The Grappler. This character didn't make it to the final game, but he is found in the Concord dev build. We have a bit of concept art for this character, and one ability he has is a sticky mine, and the other is presumably a grapple. I said he's available in the Concord dev build, and it's true, here he is, but none of his abilities work. Also, his model isn't complete. They didn't give him a punch cooldown, so he can spam punches, but other than that, there's not a lot to say. Hamar. Hamar is a human born in Alvin City, Detour, only 3 months before the planet was consumed by the Tempest. According to her card, her birth world is unknown, but her bio says it's Detour. This either means that the character cards are written by the guild, since they are in the Galactic Guide, also made by the guild, and it's an in-universe way of telling us what the guild knows, while the bio is made so that us, the audience, know the actual story, or more likely, it was a mistake by the writers, who meant to say her birth world was destroyed. She was found as a baby in a building, by herself. She was one of the few survivors evacuated from Detour, and 15 months later, arrived in 3 rings. This planet supplies the entire galaxy with food, since its land is very fertile. However, the food grown here is very bland, so people have to use universal flavor. Hamar was raised to harvest fruit, but her eyes were set on the stars. Her orphanage often punished her for sneaking out onto the dock to watch ships come and go, but she didn't care. One night, she found a piece of scrap that fell off a ship's engine, and decided to take it home. She kept it under her pillow, and she would dream of the heat of the engine as she flew through the stars. Until it wasn't a dream anymore. She woke up to find her charm red hot, and her room was scorched, but the fire didn't come from the scrap. It came from her. She's our first mystic. Hamar can control fire, and is probably fireproof. Her bio says she's strong enough to, quote, light the world on fire. I don't know if it's a metaphor or an exaggeration. She escaped and hid on a ship off to explore the universe. Vale. Vale was born in the Loyal Wing habitat, a ship that travels the universe to help planets in problems. Even though they're not free gunners, they have access to the galactic map, and no one knows how they got it. They helped planets terrorized by the Tempest, pillaged by the Marauders, or those whose supply lines were cut off by the guild. Of those, the Marauders were the ones that Vale thought were the worst. They're basically space pirates. They pillage, murder, and attack planets for no reason. Vale took it upon herself to rid the wilds from them, joining the Monarch contingent and becoming their best sniper. The Monarch contingent was a group of mostly female combatants who fought for what they thought was right. They thought Vale's ability to remain calm and even crack jokes in the middle of battle was uncanny. She knew her cause was just, and her calm came from knowing she was doing what had to be done. Her conviction took the Monarch contingent to the Smudge, the Marauders' hideout. They knew it would be dangerous, but no one expected just how many Marauders there actually were. Her card heavily implies she lost her legs in that battle, and the whole Monarch contingent lost their lives. The Galactic Guide places Vale in Tide, a planet entirely allocated to medicine and technological advancement, where she spent a year recovering from her injuries. One off. The guild's board of directors don't agree with each other very often. Competing interests within the guild are bound to happen, considering it's a multiplanetary scale. Even so, they all agreed that technological improvement is in their best interest. The military is one of the biggest clients for robots, constantly looking for an edge over other militaries, and during a boom in expansion-related battles, they needed a battlefield cleanup solution. One-Off was designed as a prototype of vacuum robots who were meant to clean battlefields and leave a clear landscape prime for construction. By the time they were ready to start production, the military decided that simply burying the landscape with dirt from their mining operations would allow construction efforts to begin earlier. Being their only prototype, One-Off was sold off to a recycling company to try to make back their investment. He spent 243 years recycling trash, only sparking 2 years before the events in Concord. Lennox. The Claxons are a race of lizard people. They have a slow life, enjoying the small things in life. Their main hobbies are sleeping on rocks and sunbathing. This is why they rarely leave their planet, even though they can live around 300 years. Lennox never understood what others liked about this lifestyle and could never fit among his kin. He tried, for decades, to see what everyone saw in this life, but was often kicked off of rocks for shuffling too much and ruining the atmosphere. During his late youth, around 50 years old, he realized something was missing, so he left the planet, even when he didn't know what he was looking for, nor where to look. He tried everything he came across, starting with food, which his skin needs a lot of to fuel the regeneration. This is all he tried. However fun, none of it filled the void he felt, but spiced brine chips were a good consolation for him. Also, he is 145 years old, middle-aged for his species. Jabali. He was born in the planet Creek. It is described as a very monotonous, flat, and uninteresting place. From the fauna to the environment, the only solace for its inhabitants are other people. The people in Creek are nomadic, meaning they are constantly traveling and don't have set cities or towns, and rarely set camp. Tribes would exchange goods when they met, but people would often join other groups as they passed. Jabali was drawn to people. He liked to study their behavior and interactions with one another. He would watch people light up the room with their mere presence and watch them adapt to different tribes as they joined. One time, a singer joined Jabali. He loved how her music lifted everyone's spirits and entertained the bored tribe. Once she left, he was inspired to play music himself using the tribe's instruments, and it wasn't long before he started moving from tribe to tribe like she had done. A small part inside him wanted to find her again. When he finally did, it was in a small camp near a lake. Nomadic groups usually only set camp for birth and death, and the singer was dying. It says he's connected to something called the Pulse of Life. In-game, this means he can heal and his bullets home into his target. His card says that the people who should have protected him used his powers for gain and made him spiral into depression and self-doubt. Did he try to heal her but failed? He was tempted to give in, but fought his way out. He left home to save himself. It sounds like her tribe wanted him to use his life-weaving abilities to heal her, but there was clearly a cost to him, whether it was his sanity or his literal life. He managed to escape, clearly shaken and scarred, but willing to make new connections. Remember what I said about mystics? Jabali is the exception. Unlike all the others, he was never exposed to the Tempest. In fact, Creek is on the other side of the wilds in the Tempest, so he probably didn't get his powers from it. Does that make the theory invalid, or is he just an exception? What do you think? Theo. To talk about Theo, we need to know a bit about his home planet, Hox. Hox was identified as a planet rich in valuable fuel salt, so the guild raced to claim it and extract it all. They assembled miners from all over the galaxy and brought mining equipment in. Once operations began, the guild realized that it was a false positive, meaning no fuel salt was found in the entire planet. As soon as the miners were brought in, the guild left, abandoning the miners and the planet. People from all over now lived together and had to adapt, making Hox a melting pot of cultures and races. Theo is a 4th generation Hoxan and grew up with a passion for the Cinder Nest, a nearby nebula used to extract superconductive crystals for power. This task was usually delegated to the rebels and criminals of the planet as a punishment, so Theo had a hard time explaining his interest to his parents. But once he got to see what was beyond the planet, he knew he couldn't turn back. We know he eventually joined the guild's military and trained in Talon, which he eventually left, likely in bad terms, as he still keeps his augmentations. Lark. There's a patch of debris. Planets, ships, trash, and other varied waste float across space with no destination. Thanks to its moisture, this patch is home to fungal colonies, so anyone looking to make money off its treasures should fumigate their finds before selling it. It was one of these colonies that eventually came to be Lark, when it gained consciousness. At first, it couldn't move, so it just observed. He saw marauders, guild members, and others come to rummage, though Lark didn't know who any of them were. After observing all these bipeds, Lark decided to also assume this form. Though limiting, Lark thought all the benefits outweighed the cons. Now being able to move, Lark decided to trade spores with one of these creatures. When a guild rummaging ship docked nearby, Lark managed to sneak in, but was shot on sight, forcing Lark to escape. Lark tried it one more time, but without appearing before any of the ship's crew. By observing, Lark realized these biped creatures were not spore colonies as previously assumed. When the ship docked in 3 rings, Lark left to observe more things. Duchess. She lived in Silo, the command center for the guild. The guild dragged an asteroid across systems to crash it into Silo's surface, all to create an easily defensible command center for government and commercial activities. Duchess is the daughter of 2 members of the guild's Directorate of Expansion, and she aspired to join the Minute. When she turned 20, she was allowed in, and planned to extend support to corporations near the edge of the Nothing. The Nothing is a region where there is nothing but dust, gas, and powdered debris. It's thought to be a star graveyard, and no one has successfully traveled through it. On her way to a board meeting, she noticed one of the ship's servant robots acted strangely. A lot of details, like its walk being slightly asymmetrical or an almost imperceptible hitch in its voice, tipped her off to this being a sparked robot. This was during the Robot Wars, so Duchess reported him to the guards on board. After a thorough search, they determined that no sparked robot was on board, but she knew they were wrong and set out to look for it. When she saw it, she went to report it, but the robot stopped her, and with the most humanity she had seen in someone's eyes, asked her to listen to him before speaking to the guard. Curiosity was Duchess' weakness and strength, and the conversation they had changed the course of her life. Her card is a lot more interesting and gives us some details about the whole Concord universe. She was on track to become the corporate expansion director when she fell in love with a sparked robot. When he fled to the wild to avoid the guild, Duchess followed him. She was here when the Tempest erupted 82 years ago, making her lose contact with her family in the core worlds, but, amidst the chaos, also losing track of the sparked robot she loves. She leveraged her political connections to stay alive, but began to thrive after developing her mystic powers. This tells us 2 things. 1. We know Duchess was 20 when she met the sparked robot, and has been looking for him since the Tempest occurred 82 years ago, meaning she is at least 102 years old. And 2. The Robot Wars happened before the Tempest occurred, which means that the Tempest did not cause the robots to begin sparking. We also know that she developed her mystic powers in her later life, after being exposed to the Tempest, reinforcing the theory that it is this that causes people to become mystics. Her mystic power gives her control over Austorium, a rare alloy she uses to make walls and shoot at enemies. Keeps. During the Robot Wars, the several militaries in the guild couldn't agree on what their plan should be, so they acted separately. The Special Operations Corporation, or SOC, decided that to take them down, they would infiltrate the dens of sparked robots. To do this, they used robots. Yes, robots. Even though they didn't know what caused robots to spark and couldn't prevent robots from sparking, they decided that robots would be the best option. SOC didn't really know how sparked robots acted, so they made a robot with human tendencies that wore clothes. But the sparked robots immediately saw through them and destroyed them. Since they couldn't really blend among them, the corporations decided to use traditional stealth, and gave Keeps cameras and stealth abilities. With the information she gathered, the corporation destroyed several dens of sparked robots, making her one of the deadliest weapons in the Robot Wars. In her card, we can see she sparked in the middle of the Robot Wars, 2 years before the Tempest occurred, and though she was designed by the SOC, she was built, programmed, and deployed by the Galactic Security Agency. Even though she sparked, she continued to serve the GSA, acting as some sort of double agent for both sides. Her personal rationale and goals remain ambiguous. Imari. Scrounge is in the middle of the Tempest's splash zone, meaning everything it absorbs ends up flying towards Scrounge. Valuable debris from planets and ships are flung onto the planet, fueling a massive scrapping industry. The scrappers recycle and sell valuables on the planet. They also fashion armor and tools, which they pass from generation to generation. Imari is part of these clans, and proved herself a resourceful scrapper since she was 7, sneaking through tight passageways to receive otherwise inaccessible components. Everyone in Scrounge respects the Scrapper Code, ruling how new valuables are dismantled by different clans. The first clan to mark a find with a flag bore full rights to the dismantling of it. Once they are done, other groups could vulture everything left behind. Imari wanted to inherit her clan's armor. Those who had the honor to wear it had the job to sprint to newly plunged debris, risking being hit by other pieces of shrapnel. More than speed, those who wore the armor needed endurance to carry the heavy armor and reliably claim new scrap. Alright, so, her card says that she decided to leave Scrounge after a disagreement about the dangers of the Tempest, but most of her clan stayed. Cause remember, the Tempest is continuously advancing, and Scrounge is very close to it, so it will soon be engulfed by it. It also says that she took her traditions and, quote, full armored, double pumped hugs. Let's get this straight. Most of her clan stayed in the planet, and Amari took the armor they need to earn a proper living and claim scrap as theirs, including their flags. Even if their survival is, quote, improbable, they still need to earn a living wage, and the card for Scrounge says that scrappers are severely underpaid, so it wasn't very lucrative to begin with. Amari took their best resource to make money and left him to die. She's a horrible person. In the Scrapper Justice animated cinematic, you can hear Amari say,
Please, I have a family.
So did I. Once.
when her family isn't dead. This could mean that they disowned her, or she willingly separated herself from them, but she just said they are honor bound, which wouldn't be very honorable in my opinion. Itzy. Uller was a planet in the cusp of the wilds. The planet was home to thriving tourism attractions where rich could enjoy a getaway that felt adventurous in the wilds without ever putting themselves in any danger. When a tempest formed, Uller was far enough to not be destroyed, but was still affected. Everyone who could afford to leave did so, while everyone else was stuck there. Itzy is a Zin, a race of which we know nothing about. Seriously, I looked through the wiki, I looked online, I even asked Mr. GPT, and there's nothing about them. Itzy was born in Uller, but this touristic planet likely received visitors from all over the core worlds where her parents are probably from. For all we know, Itzy could be the last Sin in the entire Concord universe. They held their breath for more guild ships to come rescue them, but when none came, they were forced to make themselves at home. Several settlements popped up, including one in an amusement park where Itzy was raised. She grew up playing games, walking by the beach, and riding the gondola from one side of the town to the other. It was a simple life, and she liked it, even with the constant tempest drills in case an energy spike lashed at Uller. This is why she was sad when her parents secured a seat in the last evacuation transport. Yet, she knew that it was the people who made Uller, not the planet itself. Plus, everyone she knew and loved were also boarding the ship. When they left, an energy tendril struck their ship, killing almost everyone aboard. Itzy is why I said there were 3 to 4 mystics in the game. The character cards tell you the character's race along with any info about them, including mysticism. Jabali, Haymar, and Duchess all say human mystic, but Itzy's says Tempest-touched Sin. She was later adopted by 2 mechanics, but had to leave them when she manifested powers, fearing that the guild would label her as a mystic. Her powers let her teleport and create clones of herself, which doesn't align with the usual controlling stuff deal. Is Itzy a mystic? I have no idea. Probably not though. Starchild. Tribes in Kalis were that of warriors. They are deeply connected to their traditions and rituals. Every warrior who had fought was buried under the shade of a blood tree, so future generations who drank the blood of these trees connected spiritually with their ancestors and gained their might. Much more than these legends, Colossians started developing their diamond skin, a powerful defensive tool from drinking this sap, so you can see how the blood trees are an essential part of their culture and even their survival. Few warrior tribes remain, since the guild found their planet though. Largely, most tribes are wiped defending the blood tree forests, whose beautiful wood fetched a high price. Starchild dedicated himself to becoming the mightiest diamond skin warrior, managing to earn the honorable position of a battle poet. His duty was to record every battle, victory or loss, while dedicating himself to master Colossian poetry. He was exiled, however, after he allowed an injured and lost Claxton to escape the forest, when Colossian traditions say any intruders into the Blood Tree Forest should be killed. He now travels the stars as a free gunner, dedicated to teaching others about his culture and Colossian rituals. Roka. Sita is a mining planet. Exploded, flattened, and excavated to the point where the planet's rotation and trajectory have changed. Roka was born in one of the few inhabitable places left in the planet, a starship dock. Her father was part of the Ouster movement, a group of rebels against the guild's corporations that had several sprouts in different planets. However, they couldn't organize since the guild shut off their interplanetary communication. Their petitions for more human conditions in the mining planet were met with threats. If they didn't want to work, there were plenty of people across the galaxy who could gladly take their place. Roka grew up hearing stories of better planets, planets where there was breathable air. Sida was unstable. Accidents where entire mountains and cities sank as the planet's core was extracted were not uncommon. She was unfortunate enough to have a mine collapse nearby, exposing Roka and her father to royal toxins. These chemicals, once in your body, could remain inactive for months, years, or even your whole life if you were lucky, but if they were to awake, they could give you an extremely painful death. She knew she likely wouldn't live long, and she knew she didn't want to spend her life staging walkouts, so she left the planet and joined the Hooded Bandits, a group of raiders that sacked guild ships, ensuring her short time will hit the guild where it hurts. Daw. Also from Sida, he was born near a silt-filled river and was forced to work since he was 10, since his father died from royal inhalation when Daw was 4. He did not yearn for the mines. In fact, he was afraid of them, but he had no choice but to work since the guild owned his village, and if he refused to work, he would be relocated away from his family. He was forced to sneak into crevices that couldn't be mined without risking an open collapse, an extremely common occurrence there. Inevitably, his mother was caught in a mine collapse, but made it out alive with a broken arm. Instead of treating her, the guild would likely try to relocate her to 3 Rings to work as a fruit collector, so Daw taught himself to treat her injury so she wouldn't be sent away. Daw's mum was convinced he had a knack for medicine, so she used all she had to send him off planet to chase a better life in medicine. Now, I don't really like Daw's story. They could have done a way better job with it. Why wouldn't they want to harvest fruit in 3 Rings? Sounds way better than getting crushed in a mine collapse. Also, if Daw's whole motivation was to stay with his family, why did he end up leaving? Here, let me suggest a better story for him. Let's say Daw was born in 3 Rings, harvesting fruit with his family. It doesn't pay much, and it's an arduous job, working sunrise to sunset. His father was sent to Sida after becoming ill, where he dies of royal inhalation. Maybe the guild sends sick laborers to Sida to squeeze them up to their last breath in the mines instead of wasting money healing them. This gives Daw the motivation of wanting to keep his family together. His mother also falls ill, so Daw heals her to prevent the guild from sending her off too. He fails, and his mother dies. Now, he vows to help sick people in need to stop them from suffering like he did. He has no ties to the planet, and he can leave to study medicine. I think that sounds a whole lot better than his initial story. Let me know what you think in the comments. Davirs. Glance is a planet illuminated by 2 suns, making it hot, dry, and largely deserted. The guild uses this in their favor. The water of the planet, Leviathan, is imported to be evaporated under heat, leaving behind the fuel salt the water is rich in. The Salt Lord, a tyrant leader of this planet, oversees this process, making him unimaginably wealthy. The people in Glance don't live a happy life. Davirs is the daughter of workers at a fuel salt processing plant and grew up with scarce meals. The meals the Salt Lord doled out were not enough for the plague village. Davirs grew up fascinated by the process of refining fuel, taking an interest in chemistry at an early age. Things got worse for them when the few crops they managed to grow were devastated by a swarm of toxic sun beetles. The whole town would have been wiped out if Davirs hadn't intervened. They found a pile of dead beetles near the factory's runoff and realized that salt fuel byproducts are deadly to the critters. After this, Davirs produced a pesticide and rid the village of them in a week. Baz. She was the granddaughter of Dom Lunim, an extremely wealthy businessman who has hands in several businesses around the wilds. Baz and her cousins fought for attentions from Dom, as he was looking to bestow them with the family business. While everyone discussed and fought for their grandpa's attention, Baz decided to get more hands-on. She began working as a box cutter in their delivery company, where, I kid you not, she gained her knife-wielding skills. No wonder she's killing everyone. After years, she managed to naturally climb up the company, earning experience while impressing Dom. Baz was born as a man, but transitioned while working at the company, which made her ineligible to inherit the company since it traditionally was passed down to only men. Dom Lunim decided to give the company to someone else, and Baz left for the wilds. Last but not least, the Captain. While it's not a playable character, the Captain is the captain of the North Star, the ship the Concord characters are in. More than that, the Captain is literally the North Star ship, a sparked robot, its navigation system, to be more precise. 90 years ago, the North Star was built by the Guild as a warship in the Robot Wars. It's equipped with state-of-the-art stealth systems. It was built by engineers in the core worlds as an ultra-secret operation, and unfortunately, anyone who knew how it works is on the other side of the Tempest or dead. As luck would have it, the North Star was also near the Tempest when it erupted, so it could have records documenting the Tempest's origin, both of which the guild really wants. When it sparked, it managed to avoid capture by using its stealth and hid out in the smudge. Alright, that's all of them. Something I noticed is that a lot of these stories felt very angsty, like they were written by a rebellious teen trying to stick it to the big man. I kind of tried to take that part out, but Baz and Keeps felt like they were some sort of power fantasy, like, no mom, it's not a phase, and it's not like they would understand type of vibes. No idea if it's just me, but that's how it felt. For my next few videos, I'm gonna go into more detail for each character, properly introducing their planets and grouping them in the cinematics they appear in. So, if you're interested in this or other dad games, subscribe. Thank you for watching.